and drive and don't even realize we're there.
That's the way I do things.
James, is the distance on this mic good?
Yep, no, your guys are good.
Good.
All right, so, okay, so here we are.
Did you hit record?
Yeah, I hit record. Okay. Don't worry, I'm doing my job.
I don't know
do
nothing about.
See, this is the most important part.
I just catch shit.
Excuse
okay,
me, dude. This is the most important part of the podcast. Is we are introducing ourselves.
We're
to
doing
the
a
public.
podcast.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
Okay.
All right.
Okay,
you may wonder how are we going to, because we spent a couple of months in the planning. So the thought was, how will we do the introduction to this? How will we introduce ourselves into this podcast? I thought it would be something like, well, we just did. Because we've started. Welcome to the Mike and the Mountain. This is the debut of our podcast, The Mike and the Mountain. I am the Mike portion of The Mike and the Mountain. My name is Brian Gary. I am a Country Hall of Fame radio broadcaster. How about a Country Radio Hall of Fame broadcaster?
Yes,
I spent
you are.
over 30 years in country radio, was inducted into the Country Radio Hall of Fame in 2017, have won a couple of CMA awards throughout the year, and had an absolutely incredible career doing everything I could have ever dreamed of and more in the field of music and radio. I left that a couple years ago and hooked in magnetically to this crazy vibe of this guy who turned out to be my brother from another mother, but the same father. And we are talking about Scott Cisco.
The Mountain.
Scott Cisco is the mountain part of the Mike and the Mountain. And I may be I am a Hall of Fame broadcaster. This guy is the modern day mountain man. He is the educator of wildlife, educator of people into what wildlife is all about, and he is a man among men. He is my brother, the Mountain, Mr. Scott Cisco. Scott, how you doing, brother?
Brian, golden, baby. Here it is. Here it goes.
This is what we've been waiting for.
This is where it starts.
Now, you may know, if you're in the northern Colorado area, you may know Scott from Critter Getter of northern Colorado. Scott has made quite a name for himself as being the expert in nuisance wildlife around here. And what I love that Scott does is Scott doesn't just go up and solve the problem. He educates along the way. And I know, Scott, that is a really important thing to you, and something we're going to be covering a lot throughout the years with the Mike and the Mountain is the education portion of wildlife and its relationship with humans. That's what drives you and what makes you breathe, isn't it?
No, absolutely. And we can get into that. But, brother, I got to tell you, just to see you working that microphone, man. You back, baby. You back.
Oh, this is home.
You back, baby.
I've been away from the mic for a couple of years, and I've been just itching.
I know you have.
I've been itching for the right time, and this is what's brought us together. It's the love of nature, the love of wildlife, and the need to educate. But why don't we let people know? I've told a bit about myself, my background, where I come from. Who is Scott Cisco? Where the hell did you come from, man? Because you were hatched from somewhere. I mean, when you meet this dude, it's like, no, he wasn't born. He was created somewhere, dude. And we got to know, where does this come from? Where are you from?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've got that a lot. The story's been told many times. I'm just a swamp baby. I'm a swamp rat. I was born in the swamps of Cocoa Beach, Florida, man. The swamps were my playground. It was my backyard. I grew up in it. That's what I did. That's where I played. I wasn't an outgoing person, man. I kind of kept to myself, and I played in the swamps, man. I remember coming home with, one of the other agencies or associations had interviewed my mom. I don't know if it was a newspaper who was wanting to know, did you know this kid was going to be in wildlife? She said there was no doubt in my mind. It didn't take me long to figure out that when he'd go outside to play and he'd run to the chain link fence, over the fence, and he'd disappear into the swamps for hours, she figured out she had to lock me out. And it didn't take her long to figure that out because I was bringing stuff back home because I was proud. I wanted to show Mom. Baby alligators, armadillos, turtles, snakes. That was my gift. I'll tell people this story and it'll forever be embedded in my mind, man. Sitting in a tangerine tree in the swamps, God is my witness, in my shorts, that was it. Climbed up in the tree, I'm eating tangerines, and in came monkeys. I was there. It was the Mowgli. It was the Jungle Book.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
It was a honky white kid in the
A
swamps.
violently Caucasian man in the swamps
There you
living
go.
among the animals.
Yeah, living among the animals, man. And I can remember sitting there with monkeys. I mean, this has been my life, man. This has been my life. I never thought it would move into the mountains. I mean, I was a swamp baby.
Yeah, how does that translate? I've wondered that, Scott,
Totally
because
different.
you're a Florida boy. You're born in the swamp, among the cypress trees, and,
home.
all that, and that feels like home to you. How does that parallel or transcend into the mountains of Colorado?
Well, great question, man. I mean, I got into hunting, trapping, and doing all these things with Jackie's side of the family, her grandpa and her uncles. And, it was part of their lifestyle. They were guides. They were outfitters. So I spent a lot of time with them, helping them guide and outfit for bear, for elk, for deer, etc. And then trapping during the trapping season, putting up fur. I wasn't real fond of it at the time. I mean, it was a cool experience. But then it started pulling the swamp out of me and tying in the Rocky Mountains, which is the same but totally different. Totally different, man. I mean, I've always been passionate about figuring out the biology of the animal, what it does, why it does it, what it needs, where it's at. I mean, that's always been my passion and drive. And my knowledge now, as you guys know, and the folks that I get to talk to on a daily basis or even on the phone, they're just in awe. I don't sell a job. I educate, and people don't care what I charge. They want me there. Just from what little bit I've given them over the phone. Because, I'm not doing it to impress. I want them to understand what the hell their problem is. And again, transitioning from the swamps to the mountains and doing it my whole life. Started this business about 9 years ago as a tax write-off to pay for my hunting and trapping and fishing and all that stuff. I mean, it was a great opportunity. But you want to hear God laugh? Tell him your plan.
Oh, amen to that.
Tell him your plan.
I've been telling him that. He's a comedian, boy. Right. I tell you what.
So here we go. I started the business, closed out the first year at an astronomical amount of money, and charging nothing to do this because of my passion for the animals, the wildlife, etc. And here we go, brother. It has taken off, and every year as I've went on, man, I'm like, how do I educate the folks here in northern Colorado to help take care of this? We got to understand, we got to educate, we got to understand, and we got to respect the wildlife. Those three things, man. If you got those three things in, most of the problems you can take care of yourself, or you're never going to have a problem. The other times you can call me and I can walk you through it, or sometimes we got to show up and take care of the problem.
So, education is going to be something that we're going to be doing a lot of. That's what Scott just kind of summed up what this podcast is going to be all about. Throughout time, people wonder, what is this going to be? Well, we're going to be kind of making it up as we go along, in the sense that we want to educate. We want to tap into Scott's brain. It's a dangerous, dark, scary place, but we want to get in there, and we want to tap into it and get out what's in there and share it with everybody and find a way to do that. I spent 30 years on the air with partners who I was out there. They were the straight people, and I was so out there that it worked. It was this combination of the straight and this crazy guy. Well, now I have met somebody who is so damn crazy that he's made me the straight guy, and this is a whole new role for me, being not the nutso dude. It's you. But what's beautiful is when you work with this guy and you see the reaction to the animals when he works with them. I got to witness it many times. We'll talk about specific instances, but where we come up on an animal, a wild animal that Scott gets up to, and once his hands touch it or he gets it, you see the animal just kind of give in.
It don't make sense, does it?
No, but you see it. It's a natural thing that it knows that you are the predator.
It is.
I've watched Dr. Dolittle. Dr. Dolittle talks to the animals. He does this kind of, it's a made up, you can tell it's a Hollywood thing. You do something, and I've seen you transform into this, Scott, not so much that you talk to the animal, but you become the animal. I've seen you go into this mind thing where you suddenly start thinking like the animal and doing that. Was that something that was given to you, or just experience of being out among them? Because you seem like the kid who had more friends that were animals than had friends who were humans.
Nailed it.
Yeah?
Nailed it. Yeah. I don't know, Brian. I honestly don't know. I don't know if this was from birth, if you'd say, or if this has just been over the years. My friends were the wildlife, man. That's where I thrived,
and
man.
you knew it right away as a child.
Oh, I knew it right away. I had no fear.
See, now that's
no fear.
That's the part that gets me. I think we are naturally raised to fear certain animals. A snake has been made out to be the bad guy since the Bible. I mean, every movie that a snake's in, have you ever seen a snake being a cheerful, happy critter? It's never been one that brings warmth. It's the way it's always been portrayed.
Right.
Yet you see them completely different. And, well, let's get this out. Snakes get me. Is there any animal that you've looked at and went, I don't understand it. I don't want to go near it. I don't know it. I'm a little afraid of that.
In the United States, no.
No?
No. I mean, you take me out of country, obviously, I'm not messing with jaguars, lions. I have no interest in the cobras over in Africa that are 8, 9, 10 feet long. I have no interest in
that.
I don't have no experience with it. I don't understand that species. Born here, raised here, doing as much as I have on a daily basis before the business even started. Just, it's funny. I was having a talk with the wife the other night, and at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, we were in the living room, and it was raining outside, and I looked over at her and I said, I should go catch Leah a salamander. And she looked at me and she goes, what? I said, well, no, out there in the window well, I said, there's some salamanders in there, and this is the perfect time. And she goes, you got to be kidding me. So I literally walked out the front door with a flashlight, crawled down in the window well, and there was a salamander. How? Why? I don't have that answer. It's like I told my little girl. I told Leah, I said, it told me it was there. I knew it was there. I felt it was there, and it was there. Now, is that coincidence? Is it chance? You can call it whatever you want. I knew it was there. I went out there and caught the salamander, let her play with it for a week and keep it. We put it right back where it was. I don't have it's English language is not going to be able to tell you or anybody else in this world my ability to do what I do. But I can educate you on each species that you're having a problem with in your home, in your business, etc. I can educate you on that species to know what you need to know to avoid that animal. Again, avoidance. Man, we got to keep wildlife wild. This is not, if America understood animals the way I do, I would say maybe we'd have a different relationship. But 99% of people in this world do not understand wildlife the way I do. And do I know it all? Hell no. Am I ever going to know it all? Hell no. But I know what I know at this point because it continues to evolve. It continues to change as man consumes the planet, the face of the planet. And these animals are forced to do things they would not naturally do. See, I've told you over and over, 4-legged wildlife, man, I can figure out all day. 2-legged wildlife, emotional, unpredictable, opinionated. I can't help you with 2-legged wildlife, brother. 4-legged, all day, man. I can help you all day. 2-legged, I don't want nothing to do with it.
That's I've seen all of this go down with you. I've seen you be. People are probably thinking to themselves, "Oh, it's a coincidence, salamander out there and all that." When you open yourself up to believe that the world is talking to you, you can hear some amazing things. Oh. And I know Scott has opened himself immensely, and he's listening and hearing things that what you have, people can train all their lives. They could take every class that they wanted to and so forth. Nobody ever learned to play guitar like Jimi Hendrix. Jimmy didn't learn that from a teacher. He didn't do anything. He was given this gift, and he was lucky enough to have the opportunity. Someone handed him a guitar. Mm-hmm. You were given this gift, and you were actually lucky enough to be raised in an environment where you got to go outside and discover it. Now.
Oh, that's a great point, man. Outside and discover it. Think about this, man. what are we doing in society? Yeah, people are going up and biking trails and hiking trails, but is anybody getting outside and discovering?
Oh, no, not anymore. No, you do it through the eye of your computer. You may take a virtual tour of something outside. But let me tell you, as a guy who spent 30 years in corporate America, 30 years trapped inside of a control room booth that I thought was heaven. I mean, I loved it in there. I loved being on the microphone. I loved being in a radio studio. I loved the noise of getting in front of crowds. What I'm finding now, after being away from it for about a year and a half, is that Scott's shown me this beauty of silence. He's taken me up to the mountains. Again, I'm used to being in front of crowds. I in the city, this kind of thing. Scott has taken a long-haired city boy who's used to being in front of crowds, brought me up to the mountains where it's just me and him, and you're looking for a coyote or something. And I'm telling you, the symphony of silence that I got to hear up there, how fulfilling that is absolutely incredible. I never felt that before.
Right.
I was not one who was raised that way. I didn't get raised to go hunting. I was not an outdoorsy kind of kid, aside from, that's where I'd be to, cause some trouble, ride my bike and whatnot.
Sure.
I wasn't out discovering like that. And now, at this point in my life, I'm living proof that I'm in my mid-50s, and I am just finding life. I am just finding life through wildlife, which is incredible. You warned me when I started this that, dude, you're going to go home and it's going to start being in your dreams. You're going to start thinking about it. Well, now you've got me, and I'm pissed at you for this because I'll pull into a neighborhood and immediately I'm looking up at the roof.
Looking up
in corners.
There's again, great point, man.
And that's something Scott has preached. Talk about that a little bit. I mean, we are so. Go ahead. I mean, we're very trained to not look in places where we should be looking.
Oh, no, you're absolutely correct. And this is a perfect example of what's going on right here. You're in your element. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I'm liking it.
I'm sure you are.
I kind of feel like I'm holding a snake in your face.
Because I've done that. How many times have I done that to everyone I take up? That's where, again, we're going to be shooting a alligator documentary in Florida in August.
Yes, we are.
And do I get as excited as I used to be? I mean, there's a little excitement in there because we're going down, we're going to harvest a couple gators, and we're going to take you talk about the symphony. Mm-hmm. When you close your mind, when you shut your mind down and you're in that element, the stories that are being told from the monkeys, because we're going to be there in the middle of the night, the smell of the cypress, the dark black water that we're on. I mean, I see fear in you, but again, it's interesting to see this. Was that coming through already? It sure was. It's great to see because again, I'm not going to lie, this is really hard for me. And I'm going to learn to understand it, especially as we start getting feedback and people calling in that are really wanting. It's going to pull me into this better, kind of like it has you. I mean, when you first went me the first couple times, man, you were, and I'm sitting up on the mountain. I'm going, Brian, just don't say a word and listen to all the stories. The birds are singing one. The eagle up there, he's got one. The wind is blowing stories and smells of the growth of the pines. I mean, it's some deep, heavy, and you know what? There's no drug induced. It's all given by the Great Spirit, man. When you can tap in as a blood brother to what the Great Spirit has got for you, right in your backyard, man, it's going to take you beyond any man-made drug will ever give you, man. It's beautiful.
You know what was just beautiful for me? When I went to broadcasting school, one of the first things they taught you was you can hear a smile. That you can hear one. And just as you started to talk about that, baby, I'm sure you heard it too. As you were listening, you heard a smile creep across Scott's face. The glow almost gave me a tan as you started to talk about that. Because I just see you light up when you get into that realm and you talk. But that's what I'm talking about, the passion for
it. Man, passion. I never work a day in my life, brother.
What fuels that passion? I mean, what made you feel like right now? You talked about bringing this up and doing this a few years ago as a tax write-off. Mm-hmm. Okay, what made you feel right now is the time for you? I mean, because right now, you've talked to me and James, another part of the team, regularly about how the world needs education. Now is the time it needs to get out there. Why is right now the time for you to do this? Why do you feel that?
Listen, growing up on Jacques Cousteau, my all-time hero, man, of course, he was of the sea and the islands and things like that. Steve Irwin. I mean, God love him. What a glory. Steve, I love you to death, man. And there's not a more glorious death for a brother that's got such passion and desire as that's what I hope. That's the way I hope I go, man. And so what brought it to this time? It's always been there, but I've been waiting on you and James and the other parts to come into place to help me take this to the people to where it needs to be. People want to know. People want to get. I mean, I was talking about the eagle rescue that we did the other day to a family member.
I can't wait. That's going to be a podcast in itself, by the way. What an experience. Go ahead.
Yeah, and my sister says, Scott, she goes, I want to see a video of that because I watch Northwood's Law.
I do too.
I mean,
I do too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when we get compared to that, that's where my heart is, man. That means we're bringing something. People want to see this. They want to understand it. Yeah, I'm putting on a show, and for some reason it works out that I'm doing what I do for the visualist. I still can't grasp that myself. I'm getting there. I'm truly getting there. But for me, man, when I'm in the moment, there's nobody there. Like the snake that I went and picked up, Loveland PD called the other day, had a rattlesnake. Went to the job. It wasn't a rattlesnake, but it was a perfect. Nobody else existed, even though I was putting on a show because, I mean, I had a bunch of people standing there oohing and ahhing and carrying on. It was just me and that snake at that time. Nothing else existed. Nothing else mattered. So what I'm doing when I'm in my element, it is a performance. It's what people want to see. And I want to bring that because just like you or me or anybody else, when you're into a show, you're learning. When somebody's bringing something, Steve Irwin, everybody knows Steve. Man, everybody, because they loved watching what he did, his performance, but they were also being educated. And nobody's bringing the Colorado Front Range education to the Colorado Front Range. And that's where we're going to go. We can talk about the coral snake in Florida, or we can talk about the Arizona rattlers, which are ungodly compared to ours. But listen, we need to bring it right here. We need to keep it at home. We need to educate the Front Range and let them know what's going on in their neighborhoods and in their backyards. The more they can understand about that, the safer they are, the better they are. And so is the wildlife. Wildlife conservation, keep wildlife wild.
And this is what we really hope to bring across, not just through the Mike and the Mountain, but through Cisco Modern Wildlife Education.
That's right.
You're going to be hearing a lot about Cisco MWE, Red Dragon Cyber Productions, all part of this team that we've put together to try to get this out. The time is there. I'm a guy who's lived 30 years here, and during that time, I've accumulated no knowledge of wildlife, none whatsoever. Right. And I think that I am the norm. I'm speaking for the every guy. Scott has experienced. Scott is not normal in any way whatsoever.
No.
And if you call on him,
right,
it's an experience because already you're dealing with wildlife and nuisance wildlife.
But then you get to see this wildlife.
The thing that shows up at your door to remove it almost looks more dangerous than what's in the backyard. And then you get to know the guy and you feel his spirit, and it's an experience. I think that's what's touched me, Scott, more than anything over the last several months that I've gotten to run with you. It's not seeing you bring in this animal that I can't believe you were able to capture. It's not the knowledge that you have within you and seeing you turn into that animal. For me, it's seeing the look on the customer's face, on the client's face, when you get there, not just the joy you bring when you show up looking like you do, which is just out there. You feel like Jon Snow has showed up at your door and you're in it. You have certainly entered the realm of the dragon. But seeing the expression on your face when you've not only solved their problem, but you've helped teach them how to take care of things themselves. And to see the look on the kid's face when they turn to their parents where they've just learned something.
Yeah.
I feel a glow come out of you and a fulfillment. That, I think, is what is the cherry on the sundae more than even getting the critter, is when you get to share that with the people.
Well, listen, you're making them a part of the documentary. You're doing that documentary that they watch on TV. You're doing it live in front of them. It's real. It don't get any better than that. I mean, I have customers that call me repeatedly year after year after year. They're the same clients. We shouldn't have to deal with that person more than once. But once I've been there, they've seen me. They've felt the vibe, that spirit that I put off. They're watching for anything that might, Scott, a raccoon crosses the corner of my yard. I need you here. You know what I mean? It's things that, it's just people want more. People want to see more. They want to hear more. And that's what we're doing. Again, through Red Dragon Cyber Production, that's doing all this, man, making it happen, to the Cisco's Modern Wildlife Education, Critter Getter of Northern Colorado, and Mike and the Mountain Baby.
Oh, absolutely.
We are bringing this. We are going to be loud, large, and in charge. We're going bigger, badder, faster, meaner, stronger.
Well, I'm really excited about where this is going to go, because we're going to be able to have a video presence, to have all sorts of presence, to get to you and educate you and try to tap into Scott's brain. To me, what
Good
would
luck.
be just I know, and it's scary too, but I think what would be one of the greatest travesties would be for somebody like Scott to leave this world and have not passed on the knowledge that he has, because you're one of those guys with the things that you know. A lot of the things that you know and practice are going to die with you,
Right.
If you're not able to pass this information on.
Sure. No, I agree with you 100%. And I wish I had a video digging the bull snake teeth out of my finger yesterday, because I think that would have been, but I never think about that stuff. And I know James, God love you, James. James in the background. James, man, our hats are off to you and what you do. We love you. He is after my ass all the time. Did you video that? Did you get a picture? Did you video? And dude, I failed, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. But I mean, that would have been cool.
Some of the things you have filmed, dude, no.
Those are different.
Yeah, they are. But this is how twisted this guy is. Where the joy that he finds, like today, he's up on a ladder. He's doing a bird netting job, and I'm down below pretending I'm helping. And yeah,
You were.
no, and he's talking about, oh man, what a morning! You know, I felt this abnormality in my hand and reached down and felt a little something. So I just cut it open and started digging in there and pulled out a couple of snake teeth. Yeah. What a great day! And I'm like, man,
well, because it feels so much
nightmares.
better. It's not, it's not bugging me.
That's. Do you? We talked about the kids and educating, when you just caught a couple bull snakes from a family's place. So I think it was over in Fort Collins. There had been a pair of them. And I had seen the video. I was with you when you'd gotten the first snake out of there. And I saw the little girls come out and you were talking to them.
Yeah.
And to see some little girls who at first would not go even near the window of the house because there was a snake out there, to then seeing it in your arms and the way you were talking about it, to be close enough to it to touch it if they wanted to. Then you end up going back to the same place as the other snake appeared and you rescued it.
And they ran at me.
And the little girl, that's what I saw this time. The fear was gone. Is that a huge victory for you, brother?
No, totally. And listen, man, biblically it's said from the mouths of babes, babes. What's interesting about that point you just bring up is the parents, they weren't getting close. But because the kids, again, feeling and understanding this world on a whole different level, they're not contaminated by this world as adults are. And it's both ways. I'm referring to the contaminated side, of the indoctrination of churches, schools, things like that are setting the tone, not necessarily in a right way, in my opinion, but these kids were watching someone like me. They could sense peace. They could sense no fear in me. They see me with a snake. That's that unspoken language. That's that unspoken language that I have with the wildlife, that I have with kids. Now, are they all that way? No. But if a kid can sit there and listen to me and hear my voice and hear my heart and see what I'm doing, the kid no longer is paying attention to mom and dad, who are scared out of their damn minds. They don't want, I mean, out of that thing, the mom finally did come up and touch it. The dad, I mean,
still no.
Well, he did. He had a reach beyond anything you could imagine. Like I was COVID-19 myself. But he just had to touch it. He had to touch it, man. But it was a touch and boom, he's back on the porch as the little girl standing right next to me. And the mom's taking pictures. Yeah, it's the world we live in, man. And that's why youth, and you and I have done some things with youth and reading and things like that. And dude, we took that whole deal. That deal was reading Dr. Seuss on Dr. Seuss Day to a bunch of kids. We ended it with a wildlife cap, briefly touching on wildlife. They started emailing us. They want us back to discuss wildlife conservation. What an opportunity. See, it's there. The need is there, man. And we're going to bring it. We're going to bring it.
And I want anyone who's listening to keep that in mind too, that our goal is to educate. We want, if you have group settings, and I know the world is different right now, and there's different ways that we're going to be socializing and get in front of people. But believe me, Scott comes through on video. And if you have groups that are getting together that could use wildlife education, if you're maybe you're a summer school teacher or something like that, where you're still getting together, via the internet and so forth to gather, have anything, you need education or something like that, please contact us, because it is something that we love to do. We can't wait for the day when we're able to go and do it in person, with everyone again. But until then, there's still ways that we get to people, and we're going to be using those. And that's why the YouTube channels, that's why getting in front of conferencing with people is so important. What is your end-all mission for all this, Scott? I know that I hear you with people who call and need your services, and you find joy in talking them through and helping them try to solve the problems themselves. There's always going to be a need for what you do.
Oh, absolutely.
There's going to be things that are out of people's hands.
Yep.
But what percentage of wildlife problems that you get called for do you think are really solvable by the people who are having the problems themselves?
Oh, man, a bunch. I mean, there truly a bunch. I mean, like you said, there's a few that, I mean, what are they going to do? That bull snake is underneath their patio. It just keeps coming in and out to sun. They're deathly afraid of snakes. I get it. I'm going to come over. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to try to bring them off the edge, get the edge off them, get to understand why that snake's there, what it's doing. And then I'll remove and relocate the snakes, especially bull snakes, man. I mean, to me, bull snakes are beautiful, elegant, silky. I mean, they're just sexy, man.
Whatever,
and
dude.
Relocating one of those. Listen, I bring them out here, and I know you're afraid to walk around in my backyard. I don't blame you. You'll get there.
No, I won't.
But I don't have mice. I don't have rabbits. I don't have voles.
And you don't have company.
This is referred to as an integrated wildlife management plan, where we're utilizing a predator pest to take care of other pests or nature. It's nature.
You're never going to get me on this one, dude. Because I tell you what, you put a beware of a dog sign out, it makes some people, a little bit leery. You put beware of snakes out, nobody is going to solicit at your home.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
None whatsoever.
Well, and it's funny because I've got my neighbors over here that anytime they see a snake on the Facebook, they're like, "You didn't bring that here, did you?" And I'm like, no.
You bring up a really strong point, brother. How do your neighbors feel about living near you?
Well, listen, I got 50 acres, and there's bull snakes out here already. Do they stay here? No, they don't stay here. I mean, I've got a small subdivision that borders the property. The other houses they're big acre properties. There's distance. I mean, they're doing what they do. I mean, James was saying just the other day that on his way in, he's seen a hawk flying with a snake in its talons. I mean, it's nature, man. I mean, of course, I don't see a hawk or anything like that taking care of any of the snakes that we're relocating, because we're talking 5-6 foot long bull snakes. But I mean, it could happen. It could happen. Now, we do have a couple that we keep on hand that I'll do for HOAs, for birthday parties, for wildlife courses, and we're going to be speaking at a couple of the colleges once this COVID thing gets over. They want us to come in and speak because, again, they want to hear so I love to take those snakes with us, 2 big bull snakes that are just great specimens that we will take with us in a box along with rattlesnake hides that I've gotten over the years, because in the state of Colorado, you cannot pull a permit and you are not authorized. It is not legal to take a live rattlesnake and utilize it for teaching because of the liability. So totally get that. But if I can take hides, rattlesnake hides, let the kids, people, let everybody feel that there's a huge, huge, huge difference. Every call I've got thus far this year has been a rattlesnake call. Has any of them been a rattlesnake? No, they're all bull snakes. People need to be educated, man. It's vital. And I'm doing it one client at a time. But when you tap into Cisco MWE, Modern Wildlife Education, or even our Facebook, I mean, our Facebook's got some great stuff, man. Critter Getter of Northern Colorado. When you tap into that and you listen to what I am and who I am and what I'm going to teach you about this, it's got to be done just right here on the Front Range in Colorado, man. And what do I want to get out in this lifetime? As much of this as I can. This is riddles. I can't control it, and you think God can, and James can. But brother, we got to get this out. And is anybody ever going to understand like I do? Probably not. But if I can bring us back up to speed, because wildlife has taken a backseat in society today. We're too caught up in our life. I'll tell you, COVID-19 made people remember there's wildlife, because guess what? They're home. They're home.
True.
Nobody's been home. The dogs of the Front Range. God bless the pets, the dogs. I've seen more dogs being walked out there since COVID went on. My heart goes out to the dogs, because them poor bastards been at home by themselves in kennels. By God, it's a whole new world to them. They're thanking God for COVID, because man, they didn't realize they had that many buddies in the neighborhood. Shout out to the dogs.
I thought I had sniffed every butt that I knew.
Right, yeah. There's butts galore.
How many times have you said that? I mean, come on. That's
Jackie!
But as we talk about where we want to go with this and all that, I want to talk about how...
That was wrong, Lord. I apologize.
How this happened. Because anybody who's met me has wondered, what the hell are you doing now? How do you go from CMA Awards being a Hall of Fame broadcaster,
right, man,
to getting out of that
big show
and jumping in to nuisance wildlife trapping with Critter Getter of Northern Colorado and Scott Cisco? Why? It's because I felt something. I'm a spiritual person, and I know when God or the world is talking to me. I open myself up to it, and I just want. There's going to be people wonder, how did these two ever hook up? How did that happen? And I firmly believe it was a force of nature that did it, because again, I thought I was as out there as a person could be until I met a completely another being in Scott that I really can't even find the words to describe.
Thank you.
But I felt something when I met him. When I was on the radio, now and then I'd get a call in the morning going, "Hey, it's Critter Getter," and I loved hearing his voice. I liked hearing the energy from him, and we had a phone call friendship for a while where he would call into the radio station, let me know he was passing through, and Critter Getter's on the dial and those kind of things. And I just liked the feel. It felt like I was talking to somebody I'd known for a while. Then one day, I heard this rumble out in the parking lot, and that rumble meant that Critter Getter had shown up on his Critter Getter bike. All right, so
my moped.
Yeah, that's it. So I heard this rumble, and I look out, and I swear to you, what I thought was Jesus outside of my window.
Wait, say that again.
No, there was this mountain of a man with the beard and the long hair, and he had the sunglasses on, and it's like, that looks like me. What's my thought? I thought this looked like, did Dad not tell me? Something I didn't know. And all of a sudden, the front door to the building comes in, and this guy shows up in my in the lobby, and I come out and I just jumped into his arms.
Dude, that was crazy.
It was something very strange. We had never met. I knew who it was because I knew the voice, and I had a picture of what this dude might look like from what he sounded, and he looked like he sounded, which never happens. And I did. I fell and we embraced each other right there like brothers, and I felt something. You know, people talk about love at first sight. It was like bros at first sight. I felt there was an energy. And even at that moment, I knew at some point there's something these two are supposed to do together. Well, it took a period of time.
Yeah.
It took a couple years. It took us doing shows together at the Union Colony Civic Center.
Yes.
Where I got Scott on stage to do a skit with me during a comedy variety show. And it helped bring a bond even tighter. But that moment, I knew there was something. And I've been drawn ever since to be hooked up with this guy because I feel so strongly that Scott has a message that needs to be heard. I feel so strongly that the world right now, more than ever, is in need for what Scott has to bring. And I'm not saying this because he's just right across from me on the other microphone. It's why I'm here. It's why I gave everything else up and dove into this, because I believe in Scott. I believe in his message, and I believe the world needs this. And I believe everything is happening for a reason. And we're going to get into, through this podcast, we're going to get into how wildlife ties into a lot of the circumstances we're feeling and going through right now, how it's created the world that we live in, how it can help create a better world for us. All of this just through tapping into nature. We've been given an incredible opportunity here to get in touch with ourselves and the world around us like we've never been given before. And again, we'll get deeper into this when we talk about, today's state. But just to get an overview of what we're going to do, it seems like a huge goal. My goal is to quietly change the world without them knowing we're doing it.
Sure.
By infusing with positive energy, with information, and by just trying to improve the world. That is the mission. I don't want hate. I don't want violence. I don't want any of that.
Right.
This is going to be about wildlife, but we are wildlife.
We are, man.
We as humans are wildlife. We are part of this big chain and this big circle. So we're going to focus on those things too, because to me, human issues are wildlife issues as well.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I gotta take this minute here, man. I am so humbled. This is everything I've ever wanted to do. Not necessarily this specifically. I knew this was going to be a part of it. But again, without you and James and me selling my crazy, you guys having the ability to see inside of me and who I am and understand me, you guys have seen the mission that needs to be taken by the reins. You guys see that and you understand that, and you guys willing to step up and drop your lives and do everything you're doing to help me carry this message for the world to see. To me, dude, I'm humbled by it, and I'll be forever grateful to you two for jumping in and doing what you've done, man.
Well, one of my favorite stories happened recently about meeting Scott, because I love to introduce Scott to people. I like to just sit back and watch their reaction. I know James is giggling because he loves to do the same thing too.
He's never sure though.
Well, I wasn't sure about this, and I'm still not. My parents had come to town and we're visiting.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I called Scott. I said, Mom and Dad are here. You need to come over and say hi. Because he had met him once before a while back, but we hadn't got to spend a lot of time together. So Mom and Dad were in town, and I invite Scott over, and he comes in. Right away, it's the Scott entrance. You got the beard, you got the glasses, you got the hair flying, the fur going on. He looks like a brofalo when he walks through the door, is what I call him. But he comes wandering in. He gives my mom a big hug, and he goes, "Oh, Darlene, you're as firm as when I held you last time." And to see my mother turn more shades of red than Crayola ever dreamed of was just funny as hell. And just watching Dad just shake his head, and Scott sits down, and I'm bringing this man into so many environments, and I don't care what environment it is, Scott finds a way to blend. He's the least blendable looking mofo you will ever see, but he finds a way to blend in. And Scott
your dad.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
Your dad was looking at me like, He's family.
Oh,
he's family.
It was. He knows. Oh, yeah, I see. That's Brian. Yeah, same thing. Scott leaves, and after he left, my dad turned to me and he said, "Well, I tell you what, son, that is a total case of you can't judge a book by the cover." Right. He said, because when he walked in, I thought, "Oh, Lord." And by the time he left, I thought, "Oh, Lord."
It's kind of like that, bless your heart. You don't know what's really... I mean, that can mean so many different things. So the "oh, Lord" was one thing in the beginning, and then the "oh, Lord" was a whole nother thing in the end.
It totally was. I totally was. But I can tell you, my dad and my wife's family even are more proud of me right now for what I'm doing than I think that they were very proud of my radio career and everything that I accomplished. I did a lot of great things. I won a lot of awards and made a lot of difference, raised a lot of money for causes.
Yes, you did.
And I am very, very proud of all that. But I truly feel, for me, even with everything that I've achieved, my best is yet to come. And Scott is going to bring that best out of me. And that's why I'm here, because I think all of us together in this team that have devoted ourselves to this bring the best out of each other. And it is our mission to bring the best out of mankind and all of us together. I want us all to get along as people better, and I want us to get along with our environment better, and I want us to learn about it, and I want this to be a more peaceful, humble planet than it has been. And everyone can sit back and say somebody should do this or somebody should do that. Well, we're all somebody, and we're going to do something.
That's going to be a warning, I feel like, on the bottom that says, we're going to bring it to you.
We are. We are. What it is, we'll figure that out. But, but trust me, we're going to bring it.
To be continued.
And I am so excited for all this. This is the first of what is going to be, I'm hoping, decades of excitement, of fun, of education, and just sharing our lives together. I thank you so much for jumping into this with us. You're going to meet characters throughout the next few months. We've got our skull with sunglasses and headphones sitting here. We've named Ozzy, who's going to be sitting between us through all of the broadcasts that we do. We've got everything in place. We have been working on this for months and months and months, to where every day Scott goes, when in the hell are we going to do something?
You got to do something, man.
The day is here. The time
brother,
is now.
I'm tired. I'm so tired.
Oh, if you think you're tired now, wait till Scott gets done with you. But this is the beginning of what is going to be an incredible journey. Thank you for taking it with us, and we are just blasting off. This is the debut episode of The Mike in the Mountain. Much more to come on this. We're going to talk about the current situation of the world. We're going to talk about how animals have come into play with a lot of ailments that we've been dealing with and so forth. We're going to talk about things that you can do this time of year. Spring has sprung. Summer's about here. There's going to be lots of things you can do around your home to help protect you and your family from anything that may be coming in that might try to disturb your peace and happiness as well. We're here to help, and that's what our mission is here on Mike in the Mountain. Scott Cisco, it is my honor to sit across from you and let the rocket ship begin and let it go.
Right back at you, brother. Here we go. To be continued.
The Mike in the Mountain. Brian Gary, Scott Cisco.